Let's go to Mother's Day, May 14th, 1961. The Freedom Riders pull into Anniston, Alabama to be met with a mob of Ku Klux Klan members armed with pipes and clubs. Hey, Nerderers, welcome to another episode of Nerder. If you are new here, we take true crime and history, squish them together, and nerd right out. Oh, and I don't memorize anything, so you will totally see me looking at my notes. Okay, so about 2 episodes ago, if some of you recall, we did an episode on the 16th Street Church bombing in Birmingham, Alabama, where those 4 young black ladies, young girls, were tragically killed. They were all between the ages of like 11 and 16, I believe. I would have to go back to get the exact ages, but it was absolutely tragic. They were just kids. And it was the Klan chapter number 13, one of the most violent Klan chapters at that time, that was responsible, who was also responsible for organizing the attack in Anniston, Alabama. Now, I got a couple of messages asking me, because we had touched on the Freedom Riders in that episode. And I was asked if I would do an episode on the Freedom Riders, so sure, no problem. Now, quick background. Who exactly were the Freedom Riders? They included both African American and white activists. Most of them were young college students and members of the Congress of Racial Equity, or CORE, C-O-R-E. And volunteers sympathetic to the civil rights movement. Some notable civil rights activist names were John Lewis, James Farmer, Diane Nash, and Bernard Lafayette. They were motivated by a commitment of non-violent protest and activism. They did not receive non-violence or peace back, but they were committed that they were going to dismantle segregation in the South through this nonviolent protest. And they were specifically, sorry, I had a crazy itch. They were specifically targeting buses, bus terminals, and trains across the South. Now, they wanted to try and bring the focus on the fact that although the Supreme Court had declared segregation on buses, at terminals, on trains, etc., unconstitutional, the majority of states in the South were refusing to comply. If you remember, in our previous episode, our good buddy Governor Wallace of Alabama was a real winner and refused to follow the desegregation laws. And so what these brave men and women would do is they would purposely ride through these states like South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, and they would provoke legal challenges that would generate national attention. They face threats, arrests, physical abuse, firebombing of the buses, beatings. I mean, the strength and the bravery these individuals had to have possessed to feel so strongly and to be so passionate about something that you are willing to literally risk life and limb for this cause. That really speaks to one's character. Just, my opinion, but it's amazing. And the whole time they remained peaceful. So they were drawing national attention to the continued racism and brutality in the South. Their efforts led to increased federal enforcement of the desegregation laws, including regulations by the Interstate Commerce Commission that prohibited segregation in interstate travel facilities. Their actions caused a real turning point in the civil rights movement. So now that we have our background on who the Freedom Riders were, let's talk about what the Freedom Riders dealt with, shall we? Okay, now, May 14th, 1961. Happy Mother's Day, right? So the Freedom Riders enter Anniston, Alabama, and their bus is firebombed by a group of Klansmen from, guess which chapter? Good old number 13, the same chapter responsible for the bombing of the 16th Street Church in Alabama, killing those 4 beautiful young girls. They had other chapters that they recruited with them, and I have more details on this in a minute, but I'll give you the overview. So what they did, they bombed the bus, okay? And while the passengers were trying to escape the fire and the smoke, they attacked them and they beat them with clubs and pipes. And P.S., the police stayed away for a 15-minute window, and we'll go into that as well. So, on Mother's Day, the Greyhound bus carrying the Freedom Riders pulls into Anniston, Alabama, to face a violent mob of Ku Klux Klan members from where? Chapter number 13, the same chapter that was responsible for the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church, killing those 4 young black girls. They also managed to recruit members of other chapters to help them. So they're armed with, excuse me, y'all, my allergies are insane today. They are armed with bats, pipes, clubs, chains. They slash tires. They smash windows. This whole thing is a coordinated attack. So they firebomb the bus. The riders are forced to flee. And when they do, they're met with a beating. And police deliberately delay intervention. Meanwhile, a second bus, the Trailway bus, was also attacked. Riders were assaulted and forcibly segregated. Later in Birmingham, additional mobs continued the violence. Now get this, and I'm sure all of you are going to be shocked out of your minds. With support from police leaders, including Commissioner Eugene Bull Connor, allowing Klansmen 15 minutes to beat these passengers uninhibited. Now these people are armed with pipes, chains, clubs, bats, and they get 15. You know how long 15 minutes is when you're being beaten like that by a mob? Riders were seriously injured, but thank God all of them survived the attack. Now, hold on. The attacks involved Klan leaders such as Hubert Page and FBI informant Gary Thomas Rowe Jr., who participated actively, as well as local police officials who facilitated the violence rather than preventing it. So there were Klan members throughout law enforcement. There were Klan members throughout city, state, etc., federal government. We know this. So the Freedom Riders went through all of this and kept going. They could have quit. They could have said, forget it. I have a family. I'm not doing this. But they didn't. They kept going. And because of them, laws like the Civil Rights Act were passed. And now people can ride on trains and buses and airplanes and anything else now. And they can sit wherever they want without fear of being beaten or attacked. Or at least that's how it's supposed to be. They exemplified the risks activists, civil rights activists, were willing to take. The Eastview Clavern 13, that's the official name of the Chapter 13, played a direct role in organizing and executing the physical attacks May 14th, 1961, with other Klan chapters and authorities. The brutality received national and international attention, and it accelerated federal enforcement of desegregation in interstate travel. It really moved the civil rights movement. It spurred it on. That just sounds it moved the civil rights movement. It spurred on the civil rights movement. It inspired hundreds of volunteers. It didn't scare people away. What these Klansmen seemed to never learn was everything that they tried to use for evil ended up being used for good. It had the exact opposite effect that they wanted. Instead of instilling fear in people, it galvanized them. It spurred them on. And the Freedom Riders ended up getting more volunteers. And it led to stronger action by the Kennedy administration and enforcing anti-segregation laws in the South. So all in all, not a bad ending to a pretty rough story. If you like what you heard here, go ahead and stab that like button. Don't forget to subscribe or follow, depending on where you're watching this. And until next time, stay safe out there, my friends.